Hey guys, it's Jen. This is another Jen is Zen episode of Reframing Me. In these short bits, I give you something to meditate on or journal about. Today, I'd like you to think about this. You need to be present to fully experience life's beauty and meaning. This moment right now is the only one that you can experience now and the only one you have for sure. How might your life be different if you saw more aspects of your life as a practice? What areas would benefit if you looked at them through the lens of practice? Now, I'd like to start off by clarifying that I don't mean that life itself is practice. I mean, this is it. I know it's the real thing, not a dress rehearsal. Enjoy it all, take advantage of every day and every opportunity. Totally, 100%. I think y'all know me well enough by now that I don't need that caveat, but still, that's not what I mean. I mean, life is a practice, not practice. That little tiny article, A, it makes all of the difference in the world. So let me explain. Go with me. When we see something as being a practice, we recognize that it is a continuous journey. It's not a final destination. It's not a puzzle that we solve or a game that we win. There's not a finish line that we cross. Instead, it's a continuous experience. And viewing our lives as a practice implies that it's a continuous journey that's full of growth and learning and improvement. And we can focus on the process, not just on attaining an end result. And when you can see life through this mindset, it can bring positive changes in so many areas. The way that our education is typically constructed, it is totally natural that we see life as being end goal oriented. We learn to read. We learn to write. We learn algebra. We learn biology. We learn to walk and to run, to ride a bike, to drive a car. We learn to talk and to deliver a speech and to write a paper. So, of course, we obviously carry this mentality over into other areas of our lives. We learn to be a mom or a friend or a wife. We learn to do our jobs. We learn to adult. But any time that we think of life in those finite terms, it implies that we've reached a final destination, when in actuality, we are constantly learning, constantly growing, and constantly changing. Now, my niece, she is 8, and oh my God, she is just the sweetest, funniest thing in the whole world. Well, she takes dance class, and of course, the studio that she goes to has like hip hop and jazz and ballet and tap and every other possible type of dance imaginable. So last year, she took hip hop. And when my sister wanted her to take it again, she was adamant that she didn't want to. She liked it. It's not that she didn't like it, but she wanted a different class because she already learned hip hop. So apparently it's a really good dance school because she has seemingly learned hip hop, like all of hip hop. So what a waste it would be to continue on when she's already learned it. I mean, she was really good in the recital, so maybe she did. But more likely, she obviously would keep learning and keep growing, and realistically will never get to that point where she will stop learning things in the class. But we often hold ourselves to that standard anyway, right? Like, I shouldn't make this mistake because I know how to be an adult and pay bills. Or how did I behave that way? I know how to be a mom. Or at work or in our relationships, we don't give ourselves much leeway because we feel like we're done growing. We know how to do this. We've learned hip hop. If I go for a run, I know the speed that I should be running at. I've been a runner my whole life. I run, and if I struggle to reach that speed or to hold that speed, in the past, I know I could be super hard on myself. And not only by doing that, can I make myself feel bad? And did I make myself feel bad? I feel like a failure because, well, I'm a runner and I run and I know how I should run. But I know that I can and I have also hurt myself or made myself feel crappy by pushing way too hard when I just can't keep up with that speed that day. It's kind of that mentality that I know how to read, I know algebra, I know how to drive, I know how to run. There's no room for slack. But with that, there's also no room for growth. In Gen, I've already learned hip hop, but yoga has always been presented and taught differently. We don't learn yoga. We don't know yoga. We don't master yoga. We practice yoga. And you know what? When I'm practicing yoga and I can't get into a pose or I lose my balance, it's funny. I don't get annoyed. I'm not like, I'm a yogi or I know yoga. No, I just think, wow, my balance is off today. Or I guess I'll just modify this pose today. Now, the idea of yoga is that we are practicing it because we are practicing the underlying sense of stillness and presence. And the poses, they're just a vehicle to get there. We are practicing that underlying sense of presence. We are practicing the journey. We will never attain an end goal. And it's the same with meditation. I know people will say or think that they are, quote, bad at meditation, but they're not. You can't be bad at meditation, just like you can't be good at meditation or yoga for that matter. You can't be bad, you can't be good. Meditation is also a practice. We're just using the process to access that same underlying presence and stillness and awareness. We are practicing the journey to be present at that moment. So today, I'd like you to think about what aspects of your life would benefit from a shift in your perspective if you were to see them as a practice rather than a destination. So for me, I've really thought about it here, and I've come up with 5 different areas of my life that I think I try to. Sometimes I'm more successful and sometimes not so much, but I try to think about them as being practices. But I think it can kind of be grouped into 5 areas that then you can maybe use as starting points to think about the general areas of your life that you might be better if you saw your behaviors as more like practices. So first, when I think of myself and my own personal growth journey as a practice, I am able to look at myself with much more patience and self-compassion. So instead of fixating on only specific milestones or goals, I try to focus on the daily habits or my shifts in mindset or the individual experiences that contribute to my overall development. So that way, when I fall short or I slip up, maybe I don't practice the pause like I should. Instead of beating myself up over it and telling myself that I should know better, I know how to be a better mom or wife or person, I instead cut myself some slack. I know that I am constantly growing and changing and learning how to be that very favorite version of me. And that maybe today or this week, or even just in that moment, maybe I just lost my balance, like in yoga, and I move on. It doesn't mean I've changed my goals or that I don't want to be that version of me who doesn't do those things. I just recognize that there's not a final destination. Like, woohoo, I learned being a good human. I have attained the final rank. And second, seeing my relationships with others in my life as a practice allows me to invest the time and the effort into really building and nurturing these relationships with my family and with my friends. I try to not look at them as like, woo, I have locked them in. No need to keep this relationship growing. So instead, I try to prioritize the relationship and communication and empathy and understanding. And I try to see our interactions as opportunities to get closer or to grow together. And third, I also try to treat my health and fitness, my mindfulness, my well-being, just like I do with yoga or meditation. I try to treat them all as practices. So I try to prioritize fitness and sleep and meditation and self-care all in my daily routine. I make it a point to realize that if I can cultivate these good habits like meditation and journaling and exercising every day, I can be more present in the moment and help myself and my body in the long term. But that's not to say that my mind doesn't start making lists during meditation some days, or that my journaling practice is the very first thing to fall to the wayside when I'm busy, because it sure is. Or that some days my body just doesn't feel up to the hard workout that I have planned. So maybe I opt for something a little bit chiller. And on any of these occasions in the past, wow, would I have felt like a failure. I would have felt like a total slacker. But now, when I can realize that they're all just practices, that they're all just vehicles for that underlying presence, that is what I really want, I can kind of be kinder to myself. And actually, it allows me to then bounce back into my routine quicker and much easier. Fourth, and it's an area that I did particularly struggle with for a while, and that's my career. College for me was focused on the end goal, the destination, graduation. My master's, my PhD program, graduation, my dissertation, completion, defense. I was focused on getting the job that I studied for, and I did. And then I was focused on reappointment and then on tenure. None of these areas were anything but final destination or end goal to me. And then I got there. I attained it. I was tenured. Now what? And it was like I had learned hip hop, like all of it. What now? But by shifting my focus to approach my career and my skill development as being practices, I have been better able to reshift my focus from specific immediate success to more growth and longevity and actually enjoying the process of building my career. And if you can do that, you can better embrace any challenges or feedback or failure as being continuous learning opportunities that are essential parts of the journey towards achieving the greater career goals. And last, an area that some ways I'm really good at, but some parts I am not so good at. Some parts I'm good at seeing it as a practice, and others, well, I am really bad at. So it's kind of a weird one for me. But if we can see our activities, like our creativity and our hobbies, but if we can see these things as practices, we can actually explore them and express ourselves without the pressure of being perfect. Well, that's something for me to keep working on. It's like, for me, the things that I'm good at, I'm actually better at feeling them as being more practices, a bit more than the ones that I struggle with, if that makes sense. Maybe that's natural. Maybe it's because I know I'm actually good at those areas. So I feel like it's a practice and this must just be more of a one-off. But on the other hand, if it's something that I'm learning or something that I know I'm not super good at, I would totally enjoy the process of growth and find much more joy in the journey itself if I could see them more as practices, because I tend to get very frustrated with myself in those areas. But I guess that probably goes back to that very first area that I said about seeing my personal growth as being a practice. I'm trying. I'm growing, and sometimes I succeed, and sometimes I get really frustrated because I should know how to play pickleball, right? I mean, I know tennis and I know ping pong, and I've seen some of the people who play pickleball. I should be better. But it's a journey, all of it. Pickleball, yes, and personal growth, but not hip hop. Hip hop, no, we know hip hop because hip hop is life. Anyway, so today we all know that we need to be present to fully experience life's beauty and its meaning. And we also know that this moment, this one right now, it is the only one that we can experience right now and the only one that we have for sure. So, how might your life be different if you saw more aspects of your life as a practice? What areas would benefit if you looked at them through the lens of practice? Thank you so much for listening today and always. If you've enjoyed this episode or any of them, please share them with your friends because that's how we will grow our community. I love seeing and hearing how many of you are sharing episodes with people. It just shows how many of us are feeling and experiencing the very same things. If you could take a minute and rate and review the show, I mean, obviously, if you like it, that will help us grow even more. Follow me on socials, on Instagram and on TikTok. I mean, if TikTok still exists, it's Reframing Me. And on Facebook, it's Reframing Me, and join the Facebook group Reframing Me, the podcast community. Until next time, be well and communicate.